How are you doing, Juergen?
Every time I'm here, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Why? Because of the weather? Because of the people?
It's a combination. It's a fantastic piece of architecture. It's a fantastic city. It only works because the civilians are on the street all the time. It brings a lot of attention, tourists. It has a radiance all over the world, and it's a place that you want to see, that you want to enjoy.
For me, it's really special when I finish a book and I had in my hands, as you are now. But for you, as an architect, what do you feel?
I have to say, looking at the project from the competition development all the way to now, it's much more than I expected.
Yeah?
I knew it had to be something lively, it had to be something that invites, that makes you curious, that you can't really understand right from the very first beginning. The people from Sevilla, like the citizens here, they really embrace it and they use it as part of their everyday life. It's for meeting friends, it's for dating, arrangements, it's for getting a food, to have a beautiful space upstairs to show your friends when they come visit.
Yeah.
And I think visitors feel it. It's part of the city.
Do you think that this was going to change the spirit of the city? Because I think you did it.
I mean, not in this dimension. I have to say it's much more than I expected. There was hope that this project here brings the development of the south part of the city center into the north Alameda area, which was at that time a little bit dark, shady.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I
also
was
interesting,
living there
exciting.
20 years ago, and it was risky.
But it was also exciting, for a city. So it has both sides. Now it's becoming maybe too developed already and too much activity. But this already worked from the very beginning. Setas de Sevilla, the north part, which was already named after like a year when it was in place, shops opened, new cafes. I mean, it became really lively. Last year, it was on the cover of the New York Times International edition. With if you want to care about shade and climate, you should look at Seville because this is maybe a solution, that we can need everywhere in the future. Or you see, like MTV is doing their awards here. Like, it's such a place of appropriation somehow. Like that people really like to be part of it, and that's really nice.
You have to be really proud about this because it's a symbol of the city.
I'm proud, but I'm also very grateful that the people make it happen. This project in Regensburg, Munich, or I don't know, maybe in
Tokyo.
Lyon wouldn't work so much because you really need a certain density also, because this is an airy space within a very dense urban fabric, and people like to be around each other, and I think it's a combination of both, the right architecture for the right people.
It was something like an UFO here in the city. People didn't understand the Setas, I think, local people, I mean. Can you remember that? How did you feel?
The competition was anonymous in the first phase, open to everybody in the whole world, with an idea. It was an ideas competition, it was not a realization competition. Then out of the, 150, 180 projects, there were 10 selected projects. And we all were invited to come here to present to each other, to the city, there were public forums. Then all the projects were on the internet with guest books, people that could write.
I can remember that, yeah.
So we had a lot of references to, for example, at the Plaza de Jesus, Cristo.
Cristo de Burgos?
Yeah, Cristo de Burgos.
San Pedro.
San Pedro, yeah. So there are these huge trees, and we basically do the same thing but constructed. So there was a reference. It's not different. It's just new. It's constructed. Yeah, it's nature. We looked at the roof of the cathedral, and this is like the beautiful undulated roof of the Setas. There was comments about this is like so modern, and how does this relate to the history of Sevilla? Then I always refer to the moment when Muslim culture and science came to Europe in Seville and Cordoba in this area, where actually this is where our modern innovation happened. And this is the moment I wanted to celebrate, and not like some kind of historic imagery that is kind of not active anymore. And I think in the beginning also the city was a little hesitant, maybe also the governments changed to really celebrate it as it was. But my experience was when I talked to people, the older generation and the young people, they really loved it. And there was a middle-aged group that were like, oh, do we need this? Can we afford it? What is this? Does this match our city? But the old people said, finally something new happens. And the young people said, finally something new happens here. And I think it proves that it was the right decision.
I am really curious, and I love to share stories about the small details of the city. And I don't know if many people know that where is the origin of the wood of the setas?
Oh, the wood comes from Finland. It's a Finnish timber. It was shipped to Munich, outside of Munich, to get cut and glued together, and then also the details were glued in. Then it was shipped to Sevilla, outside of the city, to be coated with polyurethane coating, and then brought here and put together. So it's basically a whole like cross diagonal through like the northern part of Europe all the way down to the south. So it's kind of a European project. If you will. Yeah.
This is the more special work you have done. I mean, maybe in spirit. I don't know the size or the relevance, but for you, it's a special connection.
I think it's almost one in a lifetime project, where everything comes together in a really kind of fantastic way. The site in the city of, in the center of the historic city on Roman ruins, with the people who are lively, with an architecture that is really outstanding and very specific and iconic. Once you start to try to understand what's going on, it really grows on you. Mm-hmm. And I think you can also see that in the name, which is now actually a name that came from the people in Seville. It was some newspaper who called it Setas.
Setas. Really? I didn't know that.
No, it was like already
because
like maybe
the official name is Metropole Parasol.
Exactly, yeah. So we had to make a name, and we felt Metropole Parasol is a fantastic name. But in an everyday use, I think Setas is more like it's made by people from here.
By people, yeah, for
and
sure.
And
the proof is something.
And that's how it arrived. I think it's a proof that it's arrived. There was a lot of different appropriations, and that's what I think is so beautiful. You have The Biggest Loser, which was a TV series also on top here, where you run and you lose weight. Then you have like Red Bull, a contest here. You have a lot of sports events, but you have also religious events. You have everybody seems to have some kind of response to that.
So you are really in contact with Seville because of the Setas, no? You are constantly.
I was here with my parents in '92 for the World Expo, and that's when it was really hot, and there was all this like spray already, like in the Cartuja. And so I knew shadow was the most important element to bring to this place.
Maybe it was the origin of the idea from the shadows, yeah.
Shadow, yeah, of course.
It was in your mind.
No, the climate was, of course, that, but I remember in the sprinkling, that the heat is something really, it's very present here. Of course, you had 7 months of rain now, which is different. So climate change creates maybe a different environment and different architecture later on. But in this case, it was the heat and it was the shadow. Shadow was like the most important element.
Can you remember the exactly moment when you thought, okay, this is the shape I want to make in this context in Seville?
Well, we only had 3 weeks actually to work on the competition. So it happened in these first 3 weeks. And the first idea was shadow. And the shadow needs a roof. So this was, other people did a huge triangle building. Some people did 3 high-rises. Yeah. There was a kind of a really luxurious jungle park. There was a minimalist plaza. There were all kinds of proposals. So we started with the roof, and then it was about how to shape the roof. Do make it organic, make it triangular, make it like orthogonal, should it go up and down? And then once you have the roof to create shadow, you have to bring the loads down. So since there were only very little points where we can take the load down.
It was the inverse the process.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, we started with the roof, and then we went into the ground, and then we layered all the program underneath, like the archaeology, food market, and elevated plaza, which is another outdoor public space.
I would like to ask you for the color. Why this kind of yellow, brown?
There's a lot of wind from Africa coming, Sahara, so you have a lot of beige dust on buildings and on the street, on cars. So we wanted to have a color that doesn't look dirty very quickly. And since at least I had the experience, I went to Barcelona for an architecture tour, and there's this huge blue triangular conference center, dark blue, but it was so dusty because all this kind of Sahara, dust was lying on top of it. So I felt if you do something which is Sahara colored, then maybe it's easier. You don't have to clean it so often, and I think it works. And also, it very much looks like timber. So when you show pictures and you tell them it's timber, people believe it's timber, but by this, what they see is actually a color.
I think you discovered another city.
Yeah.
In Seville.
But it was all references to things I saw here. I just had a different view on it.
Yeah, but we need a clean eyes, Yeah. I think you, I suppose because you are German, so you came here and you see something it was hidden for us. And you identify that and say, okay, we have this potential and we can drive the city with one monument to another stage. And this is really, really brilliant. I mean, you change a city.
I think so, in a certain way. Not, of course, everything, but only together with the people from here. And there had to be people who make decisions here in the city, like the Monteserin, the mayor, alcalde at that time, people who organized the competition, people who stood behind the project, who fought it also. So it's not only my achievement. I think it's a real. I had an idea that worked, and that other people could actually use, for their ideas. When it opened, there was this huge plaza, with the demonstrations. One of them was the kitchen, one of them was the Wi-Fi zone, one of them was the workshop area. So it became the organization of a whole discussion about the future of all Spain. It happened here in Sevilla, on this place, in Barcelona, in Madrid, in Valencia, all these other ones. But here, the architecture even organized the thinking, with this kind of kitchen, Wi-Fi. That was kind of interesting. And you could sleep at that time also on the plaza. I have pictures. Actually, you could sleep in a sleeping bag.
Really?
People were allowed to sleep there.
What do you think is going to happen with Las Setas in the future?
I think it will survive for a couple more years, and it's meant to be here for a long, long time. I think also the city learned how to use it, how to work with it, how to profit from it. If you have friends in town, you would come here and show it to your friends, no? Or you would tell them, go and see that.
For me, it's a meeting point. I mean, we see you in Las Setas. It's a...
And companies come here, like the soccer club, it takes pictures here. I think it becomes part of an identity, and if that's gone, I think the city will have feel like a loss. And I think that strength is making it survive, at least for a couple of decades, I hope. And also we managed it to be safe for heat warming, climate change, up to maybe the last 100 years, as we calculated, depending on where the weather goes and the climate goes. But I think it's the right place at the right moment and in the right city. And I think the city became a much more exciting place with this project. And also when there's city marketing or even the Spain marketing sometimes, I see always the parasol as part of the main images, to promote Spain.
I think we have to thank you because you help us to believe that we can be another place, another city. I think this is really, really difficult, but with Las Setas, you show us that we can be a better place without leaving our traditions. Because for me, it's really exciting when I see in Holy Week those pictures with a Virgin or a Christ in the first space and the Setas after that. It's
a good combination.
Something that I feel as my place,
And the first year it was finished, it was on the cover of their leaflet for the program of Semana Santa.
Really?
So it's not so bad. But in a certain way, as an architect, I'm not an architect who is obsessed with the building and that you cannot make any changes. I think a building is alive, and finishing a building is only the beginning of new transformation. So sometimes you agree with...
It's the same with the books.
Same with the book.
Finish it writing, now is the start of the life of the book.
But with some developments you agree, with some you don't agree, but at some point you have to let go, and you can maybe give some guidance if somebody wants to listen to you. But I think that's the power. The structure is so strong that minor changes don't really hurt it. There's always a surviving general idea, which is so much more powerful.